David Rogers.
Thanks, Brian. One of the things I really like about the Sunshine Initiative and being invited here to participate is how comprehensive the approach is to trying to revitalize our small towns. Because if you look at what's happened when Jay first talked about walking through Newport and seeing the boarded up shop fronts, there wasn't any one thing that caused all of that to happen. It was a multitude of factors that contributed to that decline. And so what you see here in these panels and all of these discussions is not any one solution, because you always hear the expression, there is no silver bullet, and that's true. There's no one thing that's going to turn around our towns, but there are lots of little things that each add up and contribute to this new prosperity we want to see in our towns again. And one of the things I want to talk about, which is I think a big contributor to some of the things that we've lost in our towns, is the way we develop our skills and the way we do our manufacturing. So this is especially true of Manchester. I mean, the reason we have all those mills is because we were a center for manufacturing. That's what drove the prosperity of our city. That's what built it. But if you think about what we make today, we don't make a lot of things anymore. And so when you're living in a small town and every person is buying one of these, that's $1,000 that goes out of your town, and these companies aren't paying anybody in your town. So that money goes out and it doesn't come back in. And you start looking at all of the products that we buy and the big box stores, what's happening is that all of these products are being made everywhere around the world. We're buying them, hand over fist, and all of that money is leaving our communities. And so what hollows out those towns over time, what causes those boarded up shop fronts, is that imbalance between money coming in and money going out. And what's exciting is that there's two things that we can start doing to turn that needle back in the right direction. One of the things that we can do is we can start making more of our own things ourselves. And there's this whole revolution in advanced manufacturing. And there's something going on right now called the CHIPS Act and rebuilding our semiconductor industry here in the United States that can help turn the tide on that. The other great thing that was kind of a windfall, if you will, that came out of COVID is the realization that many, many jobs can be done from anywhere. Very high-skilled jobs can be done from anywhere. So we can start bringing more of those jobs back to our small town. So in the past, as an economic development coordinator working in a city, like you're trying to land the big business into your town so that you bring all those jobs. Well, now you can bring just a few jobs, and a few jobs from this company, a few jobs from that company. And if we really got serious about it as a policy priority, we could start to reorganize many different incentives and things around encouraging big companies to sprinkle more jobs all around the country and into our small towns. Because we're buying their products and services, they should be giving us some of their workers. They should be putting those people to work in our towns. So this is a different way of thinking about how we do economic development, and it's hard as a business to change your old ways of doing things. And so I wanted to give you an example of a project that we've been working on and some of the insights that we've gotten as a result of trying to think through these new benefits we can bring to our town. So we started a project a couple of years ago, and it was part of our kind of corporate social responsibility focus around teaching STEM engineering to kids. So our founder 30 years ago started a program called First Robotics, which has since grown to become one of the world's largest STEM programs. There's millions of kids have benefited from this program. But what we realized is that it's a pretty sophisticated program. The very first version of it, the robot that you would build, it's a massive thing, hundreds of pounds. It costs $10,000. It's like you work on this and you're working on the same automation technology that runs all the factories and everything else. So it's a great program, but it's expensive. It's hard to run. So about 10 years ago, they came out with a program where the robot components, all the learning was the same, but everything got shrunk down, and now that robot costs about $2,000. So it exploded. Many more people could afford that price point. And with that, we got into about 10% of all the schools in the United States. But that leaves 90% of the schools that we're not in. And so we started thinking about, is there another rung on that ladder that we could add where we could get to even more students? And so we started this program called the XRP, which is the Experiential Robotics Program. And our goal with that is to bring robotics education to every student in the country. And so we went from originally a $10,000 robot to a $2,000 robot to now a $60 robot. And so at that point, it's cost less than a textbook. And so we started working on this project, and we lined up a whole bunch of industry sponsors that are helping us to bring this to the market. And as a engineering company, one of the things that we do, we design the products, but we don't make the products. We take those part files and we send them to a factory or to a some contract manufacturer, almost always overseas, and then they send us back the parts. And so as we were starting to do all of this, we started thinking about what I was talking about earlier. Does that really make sense for where we want to go with this? Like, do we really want to keep sending everything abroad? Like, why are we teaching all of these kids STEM skills only to then send everything overseas and then get everything back in a box from another country? So we started thinking, could we really build this in the United States? Well, using some of the traditional manufacturing methods, no, not really. I mean, we would have to, if you go through this process of injection molding, it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to make this mold. And then the mold has to be sent to an injection company that's going to make, they have like a 6-month lead time. They're going to make thousands of the parts, and they're going to send them back to you in a shipping container overseas. So it's this massively capital-intensive process to bring a product to market. But there's this hobbyist technology, 3D printing, FDM, fused position modeling, that you can make small quantities of things pretty cheaply. And so we started with WPI University down in Massachusetts, and for the first 1,000, we made them in a 3D printing farm. And so we had a couple college grad students not getting any sleep, running these printers like crazy. And so we looked at the numbers, and it was still like, this is a lot of work and it's very expensive. But there were benefits to it. Within 1 year of the program, the technology had improved so that at the same price, we could get printers that were 4 times as fast. And so now suddenly, not only was the FDM method of manufacturing competitive, it was actually cheaper than what we were going to pay for our injection molding. The only downside to this is that you need some low-skilled, entry-level person to come in and change over the machines, which for an academic and educational training program, that's not a downside at all. Because what it does is it creates entry-level positions for the students that want to go and have a career in advanced manufacturing. And so we're going to partner with Manchester Community College and Spark Academy to give us students to come into our facilities and run these print farms for us. And they're going to get experience building product that's going to go to schools here and all around the world. And so this was about 2 weeks ago. We did this project in partnership with a British company called Raspberry Pi that make one of the most ubiquitous computing platforms in the world. And so the Prime Minister was gracious enough to help us launch the product and announce it to the world. So July 6th is when this gets formally announced. But if we make more of our things here, if we embrace the new technologies, if we start to find ways to leverage our influence to make companies put those remote jobs in our towns, we can stop the capital outflows that are impoverishing our small towns, and we can start turning it back the other way. We can start bringing those money, those jobs, those manufacturing back into our own towns. And that's going to be one of the many things that's going to help us revitalize. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, David.